Hello, Professor Toybox here, along with Sorcerer's Apprentice Mickey, and we would like to welcome you back to my Fantasia Toybox for another episode of Toybox Tutorials. We're working on the interior of the Magician's Castle, and last time I showed you how to use a series of color pressure plates to build a simple combination lock to open a door. But of course, without knowing the combination, there's no way the player can open the door. And so today we're going to start working on a new puzzle that when it's solved will reveal the combination. And since we looked at the color pressure plate in the last episode, let's look at the regular pressure plate toy next. But before we do that, I want to spend a few minutes talking about rail slides, because this rail slide is going to be a central part of this puzzle. And if you've played through any of the Toybox games or play sets, then you're undoubtedly familiar with the rail slide, but if you're not, basically you just hop onto it and ride it. And if you push the stick forward, you go faster. If you push it back or pull it back, you go slower. And you can also spin around and go the other direction. And although I don't have one set up here, if you have 2 or 3 rail slides next to each other, you can hop back and forth between them. And so rail slides are kind of a neat way to get around your toy box, and you can build all kinds of really cool, fun mazes with these. And I built this rail slide maze back in episode 30C, so if you want to see how to build a rail slide, you can go back and watch that video again. But it's pretty easy. It's just a matter of connecting different rail slide pieces together. I'll come over here just to demonstrate once again. So you drop your piece, and then just like racetrack pieces, you got these little connection pieces that snap together, and it tells you when it's connected. And so it's pretty easy to build. One of the things I didn't do in that previous episode, though, was to style the pieces. And so let's go ahead and do that. And I'm going to go ahead and pick this piece up and put it down. And go into Spark mode, and we'll open up the customization menu for this. So basically, once you're in here, you just scroll through the styles. And if we pick like the candy rail style, of course I can press A to apply it to just that one piece, or Y to set the theme. And then what should happen is when you come out of here, every new piece that you drop down, as you can see, has that style. Unfortunately, for some weird reason, each of the different rail slide pieces have their own style setting. So if I switch to the next one in the list, you'll see this is using a different style that I had set earlier. And then this one is using just the standard style. And so each piece seems to have its own style, which is really bizarre because the terrain blocks, the blocks in the blocks drawer, the racetrack pieces, when you set the theme for one of those, it applies that style to all of the other building pieces in that category. Unfortunately, the rail slide pieces don't work that way, and it's an inconsistency that really bugs me. But if you want your entire rail slide to use a single theme, then what you can do is you can come in and you can build the thing first, like I've done here, and then we can come into the style menu. And for mine, I'm going to use Geppetto's Rail, and I'm going to use the Theme All option. And it says, are you sure? Because when you do this, it's going to change every rail slide in your entire toy box. And in my case, I'm sure, so I'm going to say OK. And there we go. So that's kind of a way to get around that little bug. And I like the way this looks. It's kind of cool. Fits the theme for my toy box pretty well. So I like that. Now there's a couple of rail slide pieces that I used here when I was building this. One of them is this piece here, which is a Rail Turnpike 2 piece. And it might be easier just to show that in the drawer. So if we scroll over to the right, that's this piece right here. And right next door is a Rail Tri-Turnpike, and I used one of those down here in the middle. And there's also this rotating rail. And all of these work like switches on a railroad track. And so you can create a logic connection to these pieces to cause them to rotate, which will redirect the player onto a different rail slide. And so this is what I chose to build my maze. You'll notice there's some additional pieces here with splits that can open and close or switch to a different piece. You've got a tri-split. You've got this combine where two rail slides combine into one. So there's all kinds of interesting pieces you can use. But Rail Turnpike 2 has 2 positions, and this one has 3 positions, this Rail Tri-Turnpike. And to change the position of the Rail Turnpike 2 pieces, I'm going to use a couple of pressure plates. And you'll find these in the Gameplay Toys drawer. And there's actually 2 of them. There's this one from Brave Forest Siege, and right next door is the Kiln pressure plate from the Escape the Kiln game, both of which are 2.0 game toy box games. To unlock these toys in 3.0, just place the game piece on the Disney Infinity base when you're in a 3.0 toy box or the Toy Box Hub. So I'm going to place one of these, the Brave pressure plate, over here, like that. And I'm going to place a second one over here, and let's cover up that little seam right there. And to go along with these, there's this little weighted piece, that one for the Kiln, this one for Dunbrock. And I'm going to put one of these down. This is something you can sit on top of that pressure plate to activate it, because it's affected by gravity. And that's really the only significant thing about these toys. You'll notice there's no customization menu in the lower right. When I select this with Spark Mode, there's no logic menu, so there's no properties, there's no way to alter its appearance. It's just a weighted block that responds to gravity. And the pressure plates will respond when you step on them or when you put a weighted object like that block on it. Now if we come to the pressure plate and I open the logic menu, you'll notice there are no properties for this, and there's only 2 trigger signals, one when activated, and this is broadcast when the plate piece in the middle is pushed down, which happens when you step on it or you place that weighted block on it. And then there's a deactivated signal, which is broadcast when you step off of this or the weighted block is picked up. And those are the only 2 trigger signals. And if I go ahead and just select that and come over to the other one, you'll notice I can't select it. So there's no behaviors associated with this toy. You can't direct them to do anything. All it does is respond to something stepping on it and broadcasting one of 2 trigger signals. So I'll cancel out of that. And so what I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to use one to control this switch and the other one to control that other switch. And you'll notice I've only dropped down 1 block. So the player is going to have to come back here and move that block around a little bit in order to be able to reach all of these different islands. And so that's part of the puzzle. Well, we're going to come over to this pressure plate and open the logic menu. And I'm going to do a new logic connection when activated. So when a player steps on this or the weighted block is placed on it, we'll come over to Rail Turnpike 2 and connect to that. And there are 3 behaviors associated with this toy. The first one is on, and if I selected that, then this toy would automatically rotate every 5 seconds or so, and off would disable that behavior and stop it and put it in the state it is in now. And there's a third option, which is rotate, which will cause it to rotate to the next position and stop. And it will not move again until it receives another signal to rotate. And so that's the one I'm going to use. And so stepping on this toy or putting the weighted block on it will cause that to rotate. And you'll notice I've got 2 directions here. The default is off to the right, but if you want to get to the island in front of you, you've got to rotate this to connect to the path on the left. Now, for the puzzle, what I'm going to do is come down here and do another logic connection, this time when it's deactivated. So when a player steps off of this toy or the weighted block is picked up, we're going to come back over here and we're going to rotate it again. And this will put it back in its previous state because there's only 2 positions that this toy can be in. This one and then one more rotated position. And so if I come over here and we step on this, you'll notice it rotated, But if I go and run to use that now, and I step off of that, it's put it back in its original position. So that kind of forces the player to have to go and either recruit a second player to stand on that while they go ride the slide, or look around to find that block. And so that's why I've set it up that way. And we're going to set this other one up the exact same way over here. So new logic connection when activated. This time we're going to come over to this rail turnpike 2, and I'm going to rotate that one. And new logic connection when deactivated, come over here and rotate it again. And by the way, on these pieces, if I open the logic menu for this piece, you'll notice there is one trigger signal that this broadcasts, and that's when it changes position. It's the rotated setting. So if you wanted to use this to trigger some other toy, you can do that. So for example, once it's rotated, maybe you want to activate a laser or some kind of barrier on that other path that will make it a little more challenging for the player, or something, I don't know, whatever you think you might want to do with that. So now let's go ahead and try this out. And we already know that stepping on that and stepping off will not leave that position, that rail slide in the position I want to get to that other island. But we look around and, oh, there's a block over here. So we'll pick that up, we'll bring it over here, and now that's rotated to its new position, and it's staying there. So I can come over here now and hop on the rail slide. And now we're going to go left instead of right, which gets me over to this island. So that's it for the pressure plate toy. It works well for controlling Rail Turnpike 2 pieces because both toys have 2 states. It doesn't work well though with the Rail Turnpike piece, so we'll look at a different creative toy next time that we can use to rotate that rail slide piece. Until then, I want to thank you for watching, and thank you to everyone who clicks the like button or leaves a comment. That means a lot to me that you'd take the time to do that, and I appreciate your feedback. If you like Disney Infinity and you enjoy my videos, but you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I encourage you to do that by clicking my photo in the lower right corner of this video, or the follow button on my blog, and that way you won't miss a single episode. That's all for me today. I'll see you next time.